My name is Charles Maye. I am married. I have 2 children. My son is 18. My daughter is 13 in January. All right. I run a tech firm in Nairobi, consulting firm really. And what we do, the company is called Roxo. Roxo is spelled R-O-X-O. What we do is we help organizations to grow productivity. Before that, I worked for Absa Bank. I was a vice president. I left Absa Bank in 2021. I was a vice president. I was managing the rebranding from Barclays to Absa. Before that, I worked for Airtel as a marketing director. I worked in Ghana and I worked in Malawi. Before that, I worked in London with Diageo. Diageo is a company that owns EABL, East African Breweries. I was an innovation manager for the whole of Africa. Before that, I worked in Nigeria, again still with Diageo as an innovation manager. And then before that, I worked with Diageo Steel as a brand manager for Smirnoff. Fun job, best job in the world. You could be going out every day and you're working. Every evening you go out to clubs and you're at work. Isn't that fun? Yeah? So that was good fun. You go to Mombasa, you go where, you do throw beach parties. Great job. And I traveled the world, went to Hong Kong, went to Cyprus, went to New York. Fantastic job, right? Liquor is terrible, but the job was fun. So that's my background. So now I've had a very good corporate background. I worked in banking, I worked in mobile, I worked in manufacturing, I worked in media. And I worked in 5 countries. I worked in Kenya, in Nigeria, England, in Malawi, in Ghana. I've done projects in Angola, in Gabon. I've been, I think, to about 28 countries all over. So God has been very kind to me career-wise. I had a great career, I'd say. And I think it could even have been greater if I'd known some things right. But no complaints at all. And it wasn't because of my brilliance. God was just gracious. He put good people around me. He got fantastic opportunities. So if I was a Muslim, I'd say, Alhamdulillah, you know. God be praised, yeah? So I will not sit here and tell you that I was the smartest guy or that I had a plan, that I sat down, panga, pap, 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 no, it was God's grace. I did some things well for sure, but it's mostly God's grace. There's a verse in Deuteronomy, I don't know if you guys are Christians, there's a verse in Deuteronomy, I think it's chapter 8, where it says, number 1 is that when you go into the promised land and you make money, do not forget God and do not start telling yourself that this money I have made is because of my brilliance. Anybody knows that verse? Yeah? Do people carry Bibles here? Right? There's a verse, and then it says, because it is God who gives you the power to create wealth, the ability to create wealth. So when you get successful in life, don't ever kid yourself that it's your brilliance. Yes, you may be brilliant, but that's not why, okay? You may be hardworking, and that helps, but that's not why. So God has been good to me, so that's my background. So, to bring it back to today, how many of us have got 1 year before graduation? How many of us are going to graduate this year? Hands up. Please put your hand straight up if you're asked. In the world, by the way, when you're going out in the world, when you're asked to speak up, this Kenyan thing of you want to, no. If you want to speak, boom. If you don't want to speak, don't put up. So how many of us are graduating this year? Okay, 3. How many of us are graduating next year? Guys, straight up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many of us are graduating the year after? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Anybody who's not put up their hand? Yes. What's your status?
I graduated in July.
In July. Yourself as well?
Last year.
Last year. All right. So what do you do right now?
Freelancing. I'm a freelancer.
In what area?
Mobile development.
Mobile development. Yourself?
I do training on mental health management.
Training on?
Mental health management.
Okay. What's mental health management? Menstrual. Oh, okay. Enough said. All right. Okay. So we want to talk about value addition. But before we go into that, let's take it back to how many of us, okay, so what do you consider a lot of money? When you finish graduation, what kind of salary do you consider a lot? 20,000 and above, 20,000, is that good money? Yes or no? Guys, Respond quickly. No, let's not get complicated. Life is very simple. 20,000, little or much? 30,000, little or much or okay? 40,000, little, much or okay? 40,000. If 30,000 is okay, how is 40,000 little? Okay, what 100,000, is that a lot of money or just fine? For 1 year or for life? Okay, monthly. So 100,000 per month is just fine. Okay, so if you look at your friends who have finished college, how many of them, if you had to take out of 10, how many of them are earning 100,000? How many are earning above 100,000? How many are earning above 50,000? Huh? You have a friend who's earning. How much? 600. 600,000. Okay, how long ago did you finish college? 2018, so that's 6 years. Okay, we're talking about guys who've just finished college, 1 or 2 years. Okay? How many of us have friends who finished college in the last 1 or 2 years who are earning above 50,000? Okay. How many, 50% of those friends, 20%? 30%. All right. How many are earning nothing? We know many friends who are earning, all of us earning nothing. Okay. All right. So let's work with the figure. What will you consider after you finish college 1 or 2 years? We'll say, you know what? I'm well paid. How much? 200,000? What figure? 80. All right, 80. Somebody else, another figure. You shook your head. What did you say? You're well paid? Give me a number. Okay, there's no right or wrong, guys. It's your opinion. An opinion is never right or wrong. It's just an opinion. 80. Okay, so let's assume 80,000. You're saying you're well paid. So let's put it at 100,000. What's the average salary in Kenya today? It's in the internet. Kenya National, whatever, what do they call it? Statistics. Yeah. I think it's about 50K. Right? So that means that's average. So that means that the average Kenyan earns 50K and below. There are some above. I think the percentage of Kenyans who earn over 250,000, I can't remember what the figure is. Since you are the researcher over here, sharp guy by the way, well done.
Between 30 to 130,000.
Is what?
Between 30,000 to 130,000.
What's that?
The average salary.
Okay, that's a very bad range, eh? It's too wide. Doesn't tell you much. So if you say, actually you can't use that, because you don't even divide it by. Okay, let's work with the figure of 50K for now. Let's work with the figure of 50K. So if you say 30 plus 130, it's 160 divided by 2, since you've got two variables, 80. I think it's closer to 50. I think that's what a secondary school teacher makes, about 50 or so, I'm not sure. Okay, so we're talking about value creation. So if that's what you want, what's going to make the difference between you earning 50K, 100K, 150, let's even work with those three, 50, 100, when you finish, within a year. So if you graduate at the end of this year, by the end of 2025, what's going to define whether you make 50, 100, or 150? What's a big differentiator? There's luck, okay? So sometimes people get lucky. So let's agree that one, tuweke hiyo kando. Outside of luck. Sorry?
Networks and connections.
Network? Networks, okay, yes. Skills, that's a good one. What else?
I think the specific thing that you studied.
What you studied,
The ability to brand yourself.
Ability to brand yourself, okay. Somebody else?
Level of excellence.
Sorry?
Level of excellence.
Level of excellence. Okay, those are good answers. They're not bad answers. So I want us to consider that, first of all, none of us will refuse that money is important, right? Anybody wants to deny that? Money is important, right? Money is like petrol. Aeroplanes use it, cars use it, ships use it, trains use it. Half of your sneakers are plastic. bottles, and all of that comes from petrol. So fuel is, you need it. And even this world, people will talk about greenhouse warming, forget it. This world, the way it's built today, cannot survive without petroleum. It will fall apart. Life will come to a start. All these to gadgets over here is videoing. All these to watches, all our phones, laptops, all of that comes from petroleum. At least 80, 90%. So money is like petrol. It's almost like oxygen or like water. You can't survive without it. So we're saying money is important. So you're saying you got to figure out. We're not saying you want to worship money, but you got to figure out how you're going to make money. And we're saying, and then a lot of us have notions of, oh, I want to impact society. I want to go back to my village. I want to help starving children. I want to buy girls' pads. That's the most popular one nowadays. Every supermarket you go to, there's somebody with a clipboard saying, we're collecting money for pads for girls. I think it's a scam a lot of times. Yeah? But for you to do all those things, you have to have your own money, period. Whether you are working for it, whether you are a slave queen, whether you're whatever, you gotta have money. And so if you're broke and struggling, don't get caught up with helping others, because the only way you can actually help others is to first help yourself. Because as long as you can't help yourself, there's somebody else who you're depending on. So you can't even worry about helping others. So by you helping yourself, if you come from a family that's struggling, by you helping yourself, you've reduced the burden on that family. So when you actually help yourself, you actually help others. All right? So we're saying money, color, chums, what's ganja, what's another word for it? How do you call money? Mullah, whatever, important. So then we're saying we want to make money when we leave college and for the rest of our lives. The speaker before me was talking about relationships, etc. Guys, if you don't have money, relationships can be very hard. I don't think relationships are about money, but if you don't have money, a key job of a guy is to provide, is to make stuff happen. Provide, forget bus fare, but they stop doing that rubbish. You're broke, you're college students, don't even waste your time trying to, you should not be doing that, right? Msichana ako na mzazi wake. Msichana ako na mzazi wake, wako na wazazi wako, kila mtu ajipange. You don't have the money to, you can't, you're broke. Why are you sharing brokenness? Yeah? So don't do those things. Right? I mean, if you're somewhere together, you can buy a soda. It's only 80 bob, yeah? So there's something, but don't get into things you can't do. All right? Enjoy your life the way it is. Don't burden yourself. But what we're saying is for guys, bottom line is, for you to have your impact, you need to figure out how to generate resources. You've got to have resources. That's bottom line. So then the question becomes, so how do you make money? How do you make lots of money? That's the question everybody wants. A lot of Christians, especially the churches we went to, the upbringing we've been lied to. That, no, I just want enough. No, you don't have to work so hard for money. No, money is not everything. Rubbish. Don't get into it. None of us says oxygen is essential for happiness. Right? We know we need it. We don't talk about it. You just better breathe. If this room is crowded, there's not enough oxygen, we'll all walk out. We'll all go to the garden. We need oxygen. So don't moralize money. Don't moralize the pursuit of money. It's something you do. It's not good or bad. It's just something that's needed. So don't get too philosophical. Is money necessary for happiness? Does money make money? Can you be happy? Can you be happily married if you don't have money? Don't get into such philosophical debates. They're useless. They're meaningless. Because if you're broke, she's going to leave. If you're married and you can't take care of her, at some point, she'll bounce. And if she stays, she'll get tired. She'll get burdened. By the time she's 40, 50, we've all seen ladies who are married and they've had to carry the burden. By the time they get to an old age, they're actually tired because women are not built to carry the burden of a family. Certainly not a family with a man, but ideally, that's why men have broad shoulders. So you can carry a lot, and that's why we die earlier than women, because we carry a lot of stress. That's just the reality of it. So we want to make money. How do we make money? That's where value creation comes in. You've got to be able to create value. Now, somebody has told us you gotta work hard. So I want us to build a framework that will help you. Why is this important? Because a lot of us, not just you guys in this room, I'm saying generally in our society, we're told, go to school, work hard, get A's, become the top student, go to a good school, go to university, then get a good job, and then get paid. In fact, in our days, that was already disappearing. In today's world, it's even less likely to happen. Yet, we keep being told the same advice. Our parents who have seen that that thing doesn't work still believe in it. So they're telling us what hasn't necessarily worked for them. If you told them it doesn't work, they'll be like, no, but look, so-and-so, he went to Oxford, he got a PhD, now he's a professor. No. So the question becomes, how do we make money? And how do we create value? So hard work, academics is not the story. So we want to talk about value. You have to work hard in life. Hard work does not guarantee you money, but you gotta work hard. You wanna be fit, you gotta go to the gym. Going to the gym doesn't guarantee you a six-pack. But if you don't go to the gym, you definitely will not get the six-pack. Yeah? If you don't go to the gym, you become fat, you become flabby, you won't look good. And health problems will follow, right? So hard work is important, but we're saying it's not the key thing. If we're talking about money, that's where now the story of value comes in. I wish there was a flip chart over here, but it's fine. We'll do without one. Don't worry about it. So I'd like you to think of where I live, for example, the estate I live. We have some gardeners. I think there are maybe about 6 guys who take care of the gardens, of the grounds on the estate. Then security guards, I think there's a total of about 10. 5 day shift, I think 5 night shift. Yeah, about that. Maybe 12 guards or so in total. The guards come in at 6 a.m. and leave at 6 p.m. They work 12-hour days. Or they're on duty 12 hours. Being on duty and working are not the same thing. The gardeners come in from 8, they work until 6. So they do 10-hour days. They're slashing, they're mowing, they're trimming, they're in overalls, they're in gumboots. By midday, they're sweaty. They've worked hard. They are also paid little. So I'm just trying to say it's not about hard work. It's not necessarily about time, all right? So you want to think of value. Consider that, therefore, you get paid for the value you bring. There's a state in the US called Nevada. Colorado. Think of Colorado. Colorado is about half the land size of Kenya. So if Kenya is about 550,000 square kilometers, they're about 275,000 square kilometers. The population of Nevada is 10 times less than the population of Kenya. The population of Colorado is 10 times. So where we have 50 million people, there are about 5 million people in a smaller land area. Their GDP is the same as ours. So 5 million people living in a smaller space make the same money as 50 million people living in a larger space. Does that make sense? Statistics. 10 million people, 50 million people, let's assume our GDP is 100 million US dollars, 100 billion US dollars. So you're saying 50 million Kenyans produce 100 billion. But there you're saying 5 million people are producing 100 billion. Think about that for a second. That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys over here, they produce the same as 50 people. So you have a group of 50 people on one side, and you have a group of 5 people. and the 5 guys are producing the same as that. So if you think about it as money, the 5 people are producing the same money, are making the same amount of money as 50 people put together. That's productivity, but that's about value. So the question becomes, why? Why? Why is it that, therefore, you're saying one guy in Nevada can do the work of how many Kenyans? Sorry, it's Colorado, I keep confusing. One guy in Colorado can do the work of how many Kenyans? 10. Isn't it? One guy, so akiamka asubuhi, when he starts working, 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock, let's assume it's 8 to 6, 10 hours, he'll have produced 10 times. So how old are you? 21. So if you take a 21-year-old guy from Colorado, when he wakes up at 8, starts work at 8 and finishes at 6, he's produced the same more amount, in fact, the same amount of money as 10 Kenyans. Isn't that a bit annoying? As in, Kwani, what is this guy doing? The one guy is producing the same as 10 people. So where you put 10 Kenyans to do a job, there one guy will do that same job. So now let's bring it back to Kenya. Because you're saying that there's one guy producing the same amount of money as 10 guys. Just keep that thought at the back of your mind. That in this room, let's assume we're all the same age. In another 10 years, there'll be one of us who'll be earning what? So she might be earning what all these guys together are put together 10 years' time. Why? Or if you take an American comes here who's 21, he comes to AYLF, and he's 21. Then 10 years from now you meet and he's making 10 times more than you are. So the question becomes, kwa nini? So keep that at the back of your head. We're talking about value creation, people, right? So we're saying that if you look at economies run on 2 things. They run on productivity and they run on credits. What we've talked about is productivity. So I want you to think of a triangle. Put about 5 rows. So, a row at the bottom, rows, not columns, just like that. 5 rows. Okay? 5 rows. Okay? Then, at the bottom row, I want you to write support. All right? You can write it in the middle of the row. Right? Then, above it, write value addition. Then above it, write value creation. Then above it, write value capture. Okay? So, if you look at me, we're saying that in life, for the most part, there are many factors that come in. There's a bit of luck, opportunity, relatives, etc. But those ones, they are on the side. And they'll make a difference, but they're still on the side. What we're saying is that the money you make. Okay, before we talk about money, because we're not worshiping money here. In life, you're supposed to be productive. Productive humans are happy humans. Jesus cursed a fig tree. Anybody know that story? Yeah? He's walking around. He wants to eat some fruit. He sees a fig tree. He takes the kuna. There's no fruit. He curses it. Tomorrow, he passes by the street. Hey, boss, that thing, man, it's withered. All right? And he says, yeah. And then he tells them whatever you believe, blah, 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 all that stuff. Right? But why did he curse that fig tree? It was not productive. In the Bible, it says, Jesus says, any branch that does not bear fruit will be cut off. So we have to be productive. When God made Adam, he said, be fruitful and multiply. So as human beings, we have an imperative to be productive. So to be productive, probably I've started with this, to be productive requires you to be fruitful. To be productive requires you to multiply. In the modern world, being productive is measured in terms of money or impact. It's one of those two things. Either your activities are generating money or they're creating impact. So a high school teacher is productive because they're creating impact. They don't sell anything to the students, they don't make money from the students, but they're creating impact. A doctor is preventing or curing diseases, so he's creating impact. So there's impact and there's revenue. So you'll always be doing one of those two things. If you're not doing any of those two things, nyindo wale mko hapo chini inaitwa support. All right? So whatever path you choose, and this is what you should have been told before joining university, so that you choose your courses on that basis. And then if you're not being given the courses that can either lead you to impact or revenue, switch. Yes, start where you are, look to switch quickly. All right? So if you're not in a place where you're creating revenue, so whatever you're studying, whatever you do, you're going to say, is there a path to creating impact? Is there a path to creating revenue? If it's not there, then create one. But that's the fundamental. So we're saying, as humans, we are ordained to be productive. And God is so ruthless. He says, any branch that does not bear fruit, he's talking about it in spiritual terms, but it also matters in physical terms. If you don't bear fruit, cut off, thrown into the fire, burnt. And there are lots of burnt people on this earth, people who are burnt and they're living, right? And I know it's funny, but it's also sad, yeah? Because they're not producing fruit, right? So, once we've established that, we're then saying that the bottom line is saying it's support. So then we're saying, therefore, that support are people who support. No disgrace, no shame, no disrespect to them. We need to support people. Yeah, we need them. But the point is, it's purely support. It is not producing fruit. It is not multiplying. It is essential. It is needed. You've got to choose where to play. Jesus said, you'll always have the poor with you. All right? So there'll always be people to do support. And remember, it's a pyramid. Yeah? We're saying it's a pyramid. And remember, pyramid means there's few people at the top and many people at the bottom. Right? That's how a pyramid works. That's just the reality of the world. So you're saying that at the bottom line, you have support. And this now is now those, I don't work for 12 hours a day. Unless I have a project or something massive. I don't work for 10 hours a day. Once in a while. All right? I don't. The highest earning people, probably if you are to look at them, their day, they look like they're lazing around. Good CEOs, they'll be in their office, they'll have their desk, it'll be empty, they'll be talking to a few people, they'll make a few phone calls, people will come in, they'll ask them a few questions. They don't look like they're working. So we talked about revenue. There's another way to actually make money. There's impact and there's role. So MPs are playing at the place of role. That just because you've got a position called MP, you suddenly acquire a lot of money comes to you. So we're saying that you've got the value guys here, the support guys. Their job is to add value. There's cleaners, the watchmen, the low-level cooks, housemaids, and society needs them. We won't function without them, but that's playing at a support level. And so these are the guys who come and complain, oh, we want a pay rise, blah, blah. You ask them, where's the money coming from? They've got no clue. All they can tell you is their problems. I have 6 children, or whatever, my wife got pregnant, I don't have money, somebody's sick. Yeah, they're just like, man, I need money. And then you look at what they do, they're very replaceable. You can remove one today. The watchmen here, nice guys, very important. We don't want our cars to be broken into. We don't want gangsters to come in here. So very useful role. But that security company tomorrow could take all the watchmen, remove all of them, bring another batch. After another month, remove all of them, bring another batch. We might not even notice the watchman has changed because they're playing. Guys, the world is brutal. I'm beginning to share some brutal truth. It sounds heartless when you say those things. It sounds like I'm disrespecting them. That's the reality of, and that's why a lot of us also, there are watchmen, let's face it. We don't realize this, but because we know their support role, it's very replaceable. All right? Respect everybody in the world. Then you have value addition. We said we want to talk about productivity. Right? So, value addition, these are guys who add value to something that exists. So, value addition is saying, so for example, a lot of you, if you get a corporate job, depending on where if you are hired as a messenger or a driver, you're a support guy, right? You come, you drive a Mdosi, you do whatever, you're just a support guy. If you're a filing clerk, papers come, you don't know what they are for, you don't know who they are for, you're just filing. If you're a data entry clerk, yes, you're working on a computer, you're just supporting. If you disappear tomorrow, they just get somebody else. Oh, I've got a cousin who's finished for 4, I'll bring him in, he'll do the same job, right? So then value addition is saying that you're adding value. So adding value example would be, so these guys are mostly unskilled. You could have a degree and be unskilled, just remember that. The fact that you have a degree doesn't mean that you have skills. So these guys are unskilled. These guys here have a level of skills, which then they add to something. If you look at your basic carpenter, your basic plumber, yeah, he's got some skills. That's why you call the guy. So he's able to add some value. Because you need water running in your house, you need electricity running. If your chair breaks, you need somebody to fix it. You can't do it yourself, or you don't want to do it yourself. This guy has a skill. You call him because of the skill that he brings. So then, and that's why you don't have carpenters sitting by the roadside waiting to be hired. If you drive through Kilimani and a lot of other estates, you'll see every day, especially on Saturdays, you'll see a bunch of Mades seated. Have you seen that? Yeah, they're waiting for jobs. Yeah? So I'm giving you some truths. There's hope as we get up. Yeah? There'll be some hope and some sunlight. You got to understand these guys, because in Kenya, you have a whole bunch. Okay, many years ago, when I lived in Malawi, my landlord, Indian guy, his son was getting married in London. So I had lived in London before. We got onto the plane, he invited me. We were going to London on holiday. We got onto the plane with my family, with my children. We went to this wedding in Leicester. There's a city called Leicester. Lots of Indians from Kenya, from Africa, live in Leicester. The wedding hall. Guess how many people were manning the wedding hall? One Made. Yani, she was like this the whole time, busy like a bee. She's the one who set the chairs. When it was time to serve the food, she was the one who was there behind, serving food. When people were finishing, she's clearing dishes. One Made. One Made manning. Indian weddings are big. There was like 300 people in that place. One Made. They've got trolleys where you stack the chairs in nini. When the time is finishing, she's telling guys, we need to close. Yeah? One Made was running the place. Yeah? So, what we're talking about, this is the reality. In Kenya, a wedding will have how many people? Gazillion. You probably have at least 20, 30 people. There are some guys who are serving, and then the chairs are still not arranged properly, chaotic. We lived in Nigeria. When you were moving from Nigeria to London, the moving company came. I think they're called Wild Movers or something. They brought 15 guys. We were not moving with our furniture. Companies provide the furniture, etc. Our clothes, our stereos. 15 guys came. Wanabebana, Kitty, where's Mama Apo? Where's Mama Apo? Pass. 15 guys. When that same stuff arrived in London, one truck, one guy, one trolley. The truck has a lift, yeah? So you press the thing, the back door, it's like it goes down, it's got a lift, the lift is level, he's got a trolley, he pushes things onto that thing, goes inside, goes into the lift, pushes them in. We're living on the top floor of a very nice apartment. They don't have burglar proofing. Some of the big things couldn't get in. He made a call. Some guys came with a crane. The place has been designed. The windows can be removed. Windows are removed. So the furniture, instead of going up with stairs, it's put on the crane. It's entered into the house. The windows are put back. One guy, he did it in record time. And he wasn't struggling. He's whistling. No stress, not a sweat. No turn boy, nothing. So, guys, it sounds depressing. The reality is that our reality right now is depressing. In my office, there's a lady who works in the building. She doesn't work for us, but she cleans our office. She studied nutrition at, I can't remember which university. No, she got a diploma in nutrition. I can't remember. I think from KEMU, or somebody says it's studying nutrition here. No, it's not about nutrition. I'm trying to say she's qualified. She's got fantastic English. She's a cleaner. She's a single mom. I think she's got 1 or 2 children. It should not be like that. It should not be like that. And that's partly where our generation is to blame. But what I'm trying to do is to give us a path. So as it's depressing, this is the depressing reality. We're saying we need to figure out what the path is, right? So don't get depressed. I'm not here to dampen you. But these are conversations we never have in our country. That's the reality. We never have these conversations. So we're saying value addition, plumbers, even office guys, they add value. The teller in a bank, you could shift him tomorrow, right? You'll have to train somebody, but he's not imminently irreplaceable, right? So you're saying there's value addition. Then next you have now you're beginning to talk real. You're talking about value creation, right? So you're saying you go into a space and you say, how do I create value? So for example, there's a time my wife and I set up a business in Rongai when I left the bank. We have a friend of ours who works for Farmer's Choice. So she came and told us a nice story about how, Farmer's Choice, we're doing very well. We need distributors, guys who can invest. Foolishly, I bought into the story. So we invested money, set up a distribution business. Top line, if you do finance, who does finance here? Accounts, business. Top line, the money you make, good money, well, not good money, okay money. Within 3 months, that business was collecting revenue 1.5 million, right? But the margin was kidogo, 5%. So that means on 1.5 million, you're collecting about 75,000. That's before your costs. So 1.5 million looks like a nice figure. It's a crap business. It's a dog's breakfast, right? So, but where was I going with that story? Value creation. So you look at value creation, you're saying that you're able to go into a space and you're able to create value. So that business was actually, much as it was making 1.5, it was actually playing here. Farmer's Choice needed a company that can make sure that their sausages get to those smoky dealers, get to the small mukahawas. That is support. And then they treated us, they handled us, the margins reflect that. That was actually, so 1.5 million sounds like good money. It was actually a support. They dress it up nicely. They make it look funky and nice and attractive. You're basically at a support level. If you wanted to be at a value addition business, Farmer's Choice do their own transportation. If you own the trucks that transport sausages, that could be maybe value addition. But value creation is the guy who says, I'm going to create sausages. Or value addition is the guy who says, I'm going to set up a restaurant. There's no restaurant in this place, right? I'm going to set up a restaurant. We're going to be doing, when my brother studied in the US, he was saying how in the universities, they have these pubs. Big hall, like that one. Massive hall, high ceiling. It's only in Kenya where people sit in pubs. If you go to the West, when you go to pubs, everybody stands. So they put these big drums, like the ones for oil, no stools. The beer is only keg beer, so they don't have glasses. Yeah, you get the beer in a plastic tumbler. So they sell beer and they sell chicken wings, spicy chicken wings. But it's fantastic. The music is loud. They've got a few waitresses wearing tight jeans and what have you. And on Fridays, it's just a vibe for campus students. So the beer is cheap, the chicken wings are cheap, it tastes nice, the beer is cold, you have a blast, all right? So very, very, very basic, but it does the job. So we're saying that you're looking at value creation. That's somebody who's saying, I'm creating value. There was nothing here, people want to rest, want to relax on a Friday, create a situation where they can do that. And then you're collecting money. So you're saying, create value. So we're saying there's value addition where somebody has created something and you're just adding to it. The plumber doesn't know how to make a tap, doesn't know how it's created. He can't sell taps. When he needs a tap, he goes to buy one. So he's only adding value. The value creator is a guy who goes to the village and says, in this village, there's no shop that sells taps or sells pipes. He says, I'm going to set up a shop. I'm going to buy the pipes. I'm going to buy the taps. I'm going to buy the cement. I'm actually creating value. It didn't exist before. I'm creating something that was not there. So now these guys are making money now. In a company, this would be now ideally the head of a department, right? So you go to the bank, it's the branch manager. The branch manager is told, you, this branch we've opened, in 1 year, we want 10,000 customers. The teller is not thinking about how to make 10,000 customers. Who has to worry about that? Branch manager. That's his job. If he doesn't do it, he's fired. He's told, get 10,000 customers. You must give loans of 100 million. He has to figure out, now, how do I get people to borrow 100 million? Which companies? So that guy actually has to create value. The teller is just adding value. The watchee is support, right? So now this guy is beginning to play real games, right? Then over here, you have value capture. So actually use that bank example. We're saying this is the watchman in the bank. You're saying this is the teller. You're saying this is the branch manager. And then here, value capture, you're saying, okay, so the title you could put here, you could say, for example, banks have somebody called either retail banking director or consumer banking director, okay? So now that's a guy. This guy makes about 2 million shillings a month. This branch manager maybe makes about 500,000. This teller maybe makes 150. The watchee, if they work for G4S, maybe they are making 40K. 40K, 150, 500,000, 2 million a month. Okay? This guy, the retail banking director, his job is to figure out that there's 20 million Kenyans who need bank accounts. We need to get 10% of those guys, need to need to have 2 million customers. And his job is to figure out how to get those 2 million customers. He's told, you need to lend, we need to have a loan book of 200 billion. He's going to figure out, who am I going to lend 200 billion to? Who are those guys? They've got people who can pay it back. So he has to capture. He's saying there's a group of people who need money and they can afford to borrow, they can afford to pay back, they're doing big things. How do I capture? That money is already there. How do I make it come this side? How do I make it come to us? He's got to crack that. So, and then remember, 2 million, 500,000, 150, 40K. So then the question becomes, what game do you want to play? All right? Now, somebody talked about skills. You talked about skills. So what the starting place is, then you got to have the skills to play at each level. You can't jump there. Well, sometimes you can, and you're very lucky if you do that. And most of the times, if you jump without getting the skills, you'll make it and you'll drop because you don't have the capacity to maintain it. So you want to start when you be saying, what skills do I have? So, and ideally, you want to try and come in at this level. You don't want to play here, ever. Maybe when you're in college, you can do that. If my company needs somebody to run around or whatever, I call you in, I give you 20K, you're supporting. But when you get in the job market, don't refuse this if you have nothing, but you want to get to this value. And that, we're saying, requires skills. And I said a degree is not a skill. Right? A skill is something that produces something, typically something technical. You've got something technical that you can be able to do. All right? So you want to come in and play at this level. So what skills do you need? Then as you're going along, and as you go along, the skills actually only matter up to here. Above here, it's assumed you have the skills, but the skills are not going to take you up. Somebody talks about networking, about other things. Now those things begin to be important. Your relationships become important. The roles you're playing become important. How you carry your responsibilities become important as you go further up. But you guys, since you're still in university, you now need to figure out how do you acquire skills. And they've got to be competitive skills. If there are skills that are commonly available, you will be limited because everybody has them. So yes, they're useful skills. Nobody's saying they're bad. Nobody's saying they're stupid. But, so again, you look at most plumbers, they have got technical skills, but they are, So then now that brings the difference between low value skills, average value skills, and high value skills. So then if your skills may good, they're useful, but they are low value skills, then that's what you get rewarded for. And then you want to keep building your skills up. I've been talking too much. Let's hear some questions, comments, thoughts. What are we thinking? Yes, let's go for it. Okay. I know you. You can speak louder than that. Speak louder.
You said that as value addition, it means that the skills and for you to upgrade to value creation and value capture is all about networking and whatever. I said networking, not that I've got skills. What else can I do? I as myself not without networking to reach to value creation.
I would say at this age, don't even worry about it. Don't worry about it, because everybody who reaches here, to be able to sustain it, you have to really, like I said, you want to start here. You want to be really good at value addition. If somebody could hire you into value creation, you could pull it off, but you want to think about, even when I hire somebody and I take them up to a higher level, and then they've gone through the process at a fast pace. So where PwC is a client of my company. In PwC, from the time you're hired from college, you cannot become a manager in less than 5 years. It doesn't matter whether you went to Harvard or whatever. They've got a process. And that process actually takes people, they don't call it this, but it's taking people through this. You will not be a manager if you've not done 5 years. And in those 5 years, they're taking you through processes. And they start with a lot of people, and the people are constantly being pruned, and they're constantly hiring. So what I'm saying is, what you need to worry about is saying, tomorrow, how are you going to add? You said you finished, right?
Yeah.
When did you finish?
Right now I'm at value.
No, high school, campus. When did you finish at campus?
I'll finish in April.
In April. Okay, and you're doing accounting? Finance, okay. So, and do you have a job?
Yeah, right now I have a job.
Very good, well done. So, what you're saying is right now, at this stage, you want to focus on value addition. You might make some mistakes, you might make some fumbles. That's why you want to jump into doing jobs as much as possible, because practice makes perfect. So you want to get into situations, you want to look and say, what's actually happening in this place? Where is the value? Where is there not the value? So, and then you gravitate more and more towards the high value. The skills we're talking about, academic skills are useful, they're a good baseline, but a lot of it, it's a good entry point, it's a good defense, but you want to then begin to understand what are the dynamics. Like with your finance, you could go into banking. Banking is very different from accounting, but you can go into that, then you begin to understand what are the skills that make you very good in banking. That also then takes us, okay, have I answered your question back? If I haven't, please push back. Sorry?
It's fine.
No, I'm asking if it's fine. Have I answered your question? Okay. All right. So then, and that also then brings you to the question of sectors. You want to work in high value sectors. When I worked in mobile, the mobile industry was booming. It was a beautiful place to be. Every quarter we used to travel, matter you're in Rome, matter you're in Dubai, matter you're whatever. I mean, okay, I was very senior. I was at a value capture level, but it was a good life. It's a growing business. You look at banking. Banking is a high value sector. You look at media, for example. I've said media is a low value sector. So you want to be in high value sectors. Teaching is, I studied in university. My only degree, by the way, is a Bachelor of Education in English. I've never done anything else, right? I'm an English teacher, as you can tell from my English, right? All right? But, so if you're going to teaching, you may be smart, you may be hardworking, but guess what? It's not a high value sector. It doesn't pay. Even professors, that's why they keep writing all the time. And guess what? A lot of them are actually at the value addition level, because all they can say is, we want more money. Where's the money coming from? Value capture says, there's money here, this is how money is created. We will create the money. Not saying, nipatie. That's all they can do. Nipatie pesa. Most of them can't even get jobs in other universities outside the country. Doctors at least can go to the US, they can go to the UK, they can go to Canada. So they're in a situation where their value, you could call about their value creation is actually big. A lot of these professors, they're teachers at the end of the day. So it's not a high, I'm not despising it, I'm saying it's not a high value sector. So you want to go to high value sectors. High value sectors have a lot of stress. They have a lot more stress. It's nice to leave a nice job. For me, I did B.Ed English. The government of Kenya wanted me to go and teach in a school called Aldai Secondary School, P.O. Box 28, Kapchen. It's, it's right next to my Shags. It's in the next county. My Shags is in Vihiga County. I could have gone there. I could have become a teacher. Maybe by now I'd probably be a headmaster. I think headmasters make 200K, which is not necessarily bad money for if you live in a village. I'd probably have married a girl from the village. All right, I'd have built maybe a nice bungalow, bought 10 acres. So every season I'm like, this year I'm growing maize. Last year I got 50 bags, 100. Nothing wrong with that. It's a life, right? So, but it's a low stress life. I wouldn't worry about spending money at Java or I don't know what, having traffic jams. So it's not a bad life. It's a choice. You make a choice, but you need to understand what you're choosing. And you need to understand that whatever choice you make comes with a price. Again, what you have to do is you have to develop skills. You have to figure out what skills do you want to develop, which is mostly around what is your passion. I can't remember, there's some, I could have come up with something. But what are your passions? What are your talents? What are your abilities? What knowledge do you have? What's your baseline of skills? If you're doing accounting or finance, you've got a baseline of skills that you can deploy. If you're doing education, maybe you can teach people. So you need to figure out what's your baseline and then just start adding value. You walk into situations, you figure out how to add value. Get into the mindset of being a value addition. Instead of Machango, right? Instead of Machango being the only one who sets up this situation, you're saying, I'm going into this situation, I'm going to be the guy who helps set up the context. I'm going to be the guy, I want to welcome the visitor. Why? I'll have 3 minutes with him. So be the guy who thinks about, you want to have a mindset of adding value. Don't overdo it, don't overthink it. And sometimes all you need to do is just ask people, how can I add value? How can I help? And sometimes it'll actually go back down to support. That's okay. It's not evil. It doesn't mean you're a failure or a loser. If you start there, you just don't want to stay there. But you want to have the mindset of adding value. When I start a job, now maybe this is going to be a bit closer to most of us in the room. So I did my Bachelor of Education in English at Maseno University. We did teaching practice in the first year for 1 month. I went there for that 1 month and I was clear I will never be a teacher for the government of Kenya. In fact, I don't even want to teach. I think I was pretty good at it, but I was like, they don't get paid enough. They don't get paid on time. They get harassed, and me, I'm too proud. I'm like, I can't live like that. My spirit will be crushed. So it was very clear. I remember the professor who came to evaluate me. She said, I don't think you're going to do that. I said, no way. I'm not. I'll find something else for sure. By the time before the first year was over, I knew this is not my path. So that was when we were in Maseno. So then I got a job in advertising. And the way I got a job in advertising, actually, you could actually argue is about all this. First of all, we had some riots in campus. So then the university closed for, I think, 9 months. Came to Nairobi, got a job with a company that uses a magazine company. They wanted people to sell space. That's literally, it's probably support, or maybe somewhere between support and value addition. No training, no nothing. We walked around trying to sell, never sold a single thing. But then I got to, that's the truth, got exposed to the idea of advertising. I'm like, not bad. I think I could work in this space. I like whatever. Went to a few ad agencies. You go to ad agencies, those days were very sleek, nice dresses, chicks in high heels, just as a buzz in the place. Like, this is, I could work in this sort of place. This feels like me. So I didn't sell a thing, but I got exposure. That was much more useful than any money I could have gotten when I was in campus. I was still in campus at this time. Then, when I was in campus, I wanted to start a magazine because Maseno was a new university. There was a lady who was in my classmate. She was on the same team for the magazine. Then her brother-in-law came to visit. Her brother-in-law used to work for a company called Ogilvy. Ogilvy is a big advertising agency. Her brother-in-law comes to visit. It was a Sunday during service. I think he was dropping her. Then, so as they're talking, hey, how's it going, Nini? He says, yeah, we're setting up a magazine. Like, what? So I was like, what? This is Maseno, which is Maseno, very rural place. He's like, setting up, it's like, who wants to do that? He says, there's a guy. He's like, I want to meet that guy. Yeah, he's thinking, which crazy guy is this who wants to set up a magazine in this place? I mean, he works in advertising, so he understands. He says, call him, go and call him. Well, I'm sitting in church, it's a Sunday. Maureen comes to me. He says, Charles, come. Maureen, service is going on. Just come. David, who is David? My brother, come. So I go, what is it? No, David. I'm like, why? No, I mentioned they started up the magazine. He said he wants to meet you. So I meet David. He's like, hey, young man, I hear you want to set up a magazine. Very good. Keep at it, whatever. Call me if you need support. Here's my business card, etc. But then we never started that magazine. It never took off. But the intention was there. Yeah? Most people are not serious. I think I was the only serious guy. David, as he's driving to Nairobi, he actually goes to Kericho. He has a car accident. He has to be lifted to Nairobi, blah, blah. Anyway, within 4 or 5 months, him and another guy, they quit. They set up their ad agency. Since he gave me his card, I come to Nairobi, I call him, he says, come to my office. Go to his office. Young man, how's it going? Yeah, okay. See you next time. Every time I'm in Nairobi, I'd pass by his office. So he became like a mentor. Great guy. He gave me time. I don't do enough of that. I need to give more time to people. So he gave me a lot of time. But then I got exposure to a world that didn't exist for me before. When I'm going to finish college, for me, it's very clear. I'd like to go into marketing. The way to become a marketing manager is through becoming an advertising person, working in an ad agency, get into marketing. So then I can't go to David. The company they've set up is still fairly small. So I'm like, no, I can't work for these guys. They're small. And David was a smart guy. He didn't offer me a job. I'm like, so David, I want to go work for Ogilvy. I want to go work for McCann Erickson. Give me advice. He says, okay, you go for the interview. Be confident. Be like this. Look for a career. Don't say you want a job. Say you want a career. He's giving me good advice. This guy is in his late 30s, early 40s, I think, at that time. Giving me very good advice. So Natafuta, I'm going to places, dropping my CV. After 3 months, nothing, man. So one day I'm sitting with David. I'm like, David, man, why don't you just give me a job? He says, Charles, I was ready to give you a job 4 months ago, but I wanted you to ask. Because he says, you saw me how I was going about the task of looking for a job, asking for advice. He's like, this is the kind of energy. So he gave me my first job. So I get my first job like that. B.Ed, English, no become. Those days they used to insist on become, etc. So what I'm saying is, and that all started from me saying that, in fact, from that boom holiday where I was a salesman who sold nothing. So if there's a guy there that will say, this guy is a failure, he's useless, he can't even send a toothpick, right? Then wanting to set up a magazine which never got started, right? But I was already beginning to think about how are you adding value in spaces, all right? So I think that I'll probably close off on that story. So the bottom line is you want to create, to have the mindset of adding value. Even if you end up in places of role or impact, which is role-based like a politician or impact NGOs, etc., you want to think about, if you're in a revenue situation, how do you add value? Because once you do this, you can do the rest. If you do this and this, you can't necessarily do that. Yeah? So key thing is to then understand there's a hierarchy: support, value addition, value creation, value capture. And then you want to understand that you want to start ideally here, and you can only do this the more you do this. A lot of young guys keep saying, oh, you know how to set up a business. Not a bad idea. Focus on value creation, because the truth of the matter is that you come out of college, you know nothing. That's the truth most of the time. You're clueless. So the amount of value you'll add, in fact, the most you'll do is offer support. I mean, there are people who've done it, but for the most part, you don't know enough to really do much. So the most is you can add value to people. A lot of times people will give you a job. That's why they are very patient with you, because they're saying, okay, let's put this guy in a situation where he's supporting, then let's see what he has to bring. And then as you bring and as you begin to add value, then you begin to go up. But remember, you want to go, skills, very important. BA anthropology, not a good idea. If Form 4 was hard, if you've got a brother who's struggling in school, it's good to get a degree. Let him do BA anthropology. Let him go and do accounts. Let him go to a mechanic school meantime, because that's a skill. That's a useful skill. Let him learn to be a plumber with his BA anthropology. Don't say you got to have skills, especially in today's world. The more technical skills, men, guys. How many of us are doing a science, technology, engineering, or math degree? Hand up. What are the rest of us doing? I'm asking, I'm not criticizing. What degree are you doing? Psychology? Nursing. Okay? So that's science. Huh? No, the other guy in white. Law? Okay, law is good. Engineering. Okay, so guys, you gotta go for technical skills. In today's world, there's a move towards saying there's a notion that men have been empowered for too long, which is not true in Africa. If you walk on the streets of Nairobi, there are men working from Kangemi. There's no patriarchy in Africa, all right? But that's the way the world is. So guys, the place where you have your best chance is in STEM. Why? Because nobody can wake up tomorrow and say, from tomorrow, Kenya Airways, 50% of your pilots have to only be women. Nobody can say, from tomorrow, doctors, 50% of the surgeons, we want them to be, you have to be competent. So men, especially men, all of us in the room, but especially guys, you want to move to areas where there's competency, where there's technical competency, because then there is your competency that opens the door, that allows you, even if you don't want to end up being a doctor, study that medicine. If you want to be a salesman or an artist, be an artist who's got a medicine degree. This is a problem we have in life. We want somebody, if there was a solution, there'd be no unemployment. There's no easy way. You gotta develop skills in whatever area. Yes, you say theoretical. Yes, it is theoretical because we're making blunders. We're making mistakes because we think that there's an easy package that somebody can give us 1, 2, 3 steps. If it was, there'd be nobody unemployed in this country. Really, if there was an answer to that question, do you think people would be watchmen? No. So you have to move away from the notion. There are no easy answers, only difficult questions. So it's good you're asking because now you've got asked a question, and I'm telling you, you got to figure out their skills. What are your talents? What are you good at? You specifically. Sorry? Okay. You're good at AI. What is the measure of being good? What have you done? Okay, so who have you done that analysis for?
I've done that analysis for several projects.
Which sectors?
Business.
Which business?
It was a thesis. So
That's theoretical. Thesis, that's university.
yes, like when they collect data, I'm able to analyze it.
But I'm saying in business, where have you done that analysis? So it's theoretical. So you need to move from theoretical to sikuchokozi, by the way. I'm just trying to help you. I'm trying to shake your head. Yeah? So right now your knowledge of your theory that you're good in data analysis is theoretical. You need to move that data analysis to practical. Close your eyes. How many men are there in this room? Don't think, just tell me. How many women? Who's the tallest guy in this room? Who's the shortest? So you don't do data analysis. Data analysis is you walking into this room and saying, there's 5 men, there's 10 women, okay? There's 5 engineers. How many people are engineers? You're not a data analyst. Data is all, you're talking about practical, data is all around us. How many chairs are there in this room? You're not a data analyst. You've studied data analysis, you're not a data analyst. If you want to be practical, you walk into a space, you've got to see data. How large is this room? You're not a data analyst. So I'm giving you an answer. I hope you understand that. I'm not ridiculing you. Skills, practical skills is you saying I'm a data analyst. You walk into this room, there were 10 men, there were 8 women, there were 5 engineers, there were 3 nurses, there were 2 doctors, and the rest were anthropologists. All right? You're able to say that there were 15 chairs. You're able to look and say, the way this guy is sitting, everybody has got about 2 feet of chair space. That's normally the recommended space, about 2 feet. All right? So that's data. Everywhere you're going, you're seeing data. Then you're a data analyst. You talk to somebody says, man, damn, this guy, I've got an issue here. Which needs data. Let me bring this guy. I'm trying to crunch some numbers. That's being a data analyst. So right now you're in a theoretical framework. So nobody can even help you. That's not just him. That's everybody. Yes, sir. Sorry, Mashango. Tamaliza sasa. Yes, sir. You and then him.
According to the trial of agreement, there is one slot we have not
Which one? This one? No, this is it. Yeah. Here is for investors. This box is for people who are investing. Yeah? These are now the big boys, the giants. So these are the guys who pay for everything. They're the ones who hire the people who capture value, who create value. When you're an MD of a company, your job is to capture value. When you see an MD being fired, if the company is doing badly, he's not figured out how to capture value. A lot of the C-suite, the finance director, marketing director, IT director, all those guys, they're thinking, how do we capture value? The IT director's job is to figure out how to use IT to capture more value. HR director is saying, how do we get the highest, the best possible people? How do you get all the people value in the market? Yeah? So those are the different. So at the top is the guys, these are the guys who pay the bills. Which sport do you watch? F1. Okay. So if you think about it, which team do you support? Mercedes. Okay. So this is Toto Wolff. Yeah? Because he's an investor in the business. For Red Bull, is it called Maastricht, the guys who own the Red Bull company? Those are these guys. And then Christian Horner is here. That's why who was he fired the other day? Who was he fired? Christian Horner. Who did he fire?
Ricardo is quitting.
Well, what's his other name?
Daniel.
Is he quitting or has he been fired, boss?
Have you talked because he's not performing well.
So he's been fired. Yes, but Christian Horner is a guy who captures value. Why is he firing Daniel Ricciardo? Because the bugger is not creating value. He's a support guy. He's just sitting there in the team. He used to be good. Yeah, Maras G was supporting what? He's not creating value. The kind of money they're being paid, you better create value. You create value by winning competitions, by being faster than you or whatever. He's not doing those things. He's not creating value. So, Rudi Nyumbani, yes sir.
Yeah. I think I'll start with when you mentioned about you actually kind of like compressed or crushed a thought or idea that I had about when you say that especially men move out from the space of I'd say
Theory,
yes. So from NGOs, I don't know, CBOs or whatever, or that kind of space, climate and whatever, just move out of it. But
you can go into those spaces,
yeah.
But what you're doing in the spaces is what matters.
But generally, yes, that's where companies are created. When someone, forms an organization, then upscales it, starts a business and works through it, slowly by slowly he scales up. I also wanted to ask.
So if I may clarify that thought,
Yes.
You could be in revenue, you could be impact, you could be in role, all right? So you could be in NGOs. The thing is, what skill level are you bringing? You want to be the technical guy. You want to be the guy with the skills which, when you speak, people are listening. Nobody's going to look at you and say, we need more Muslims over here, or we need a disabled guy to do this job. Or no, we need more women. So this job, when it's next vacant, let's give it to a woman. That already means that the value you're bringing is so substitutable. But when you're a doctor, nobody looks and says, you know what? We've got 50 male doctors. We now want 25 of them to be women. Nobody's going to say that. When anybody's getting an operation, nobody says, is it a guy? Is it a chick? You're like, how good is a guy? You want to be in a place where people say, how good is a guy? Go ahead.
Yeah. So the reason I actually asked that because I studied a technical course, but when I got outside my interactions with people outside, they actually what I experienced as being more impactful was what people used to do and what people do in these organizations. So I saw that in the technical course, I'd be ending up in some parastatal somewhere in the highest level value creation. Nowhere past that.
What did you study?
Civil engineering.
And now you are in?
Right now? No, that's I'm done with studying.
Yeah. So where are you working now?
I'm not. Okay, I'm working with several organizations. Just say nowhere. No, I don't say nowhere, but we are founding an organization.
That's fine. So what I'm saying is, especially for dudes, for most people, but I'll say for dudes, get technical skills. You don't have to work in it, but your calling card is much more powerful. So you can do your engineering, you can go do whatever. What I'm saying is, in life, guys, and the reason this is important is it's a game of options. You want to expand your options. You want to be able to say, if I go to the US and say, I'm an engineer, guys they can pima you, they can say, okay, this guy is good for it. Yeah? So it's about options. You can do whatever you want. Nobody's saying you have to work in those spaces. There's a lady who does some of my projects. She's a professor in medical research. She's worked with CDC, Cambridge. She's now, the time she was working as an event manager, she's about 56 or 57. She was working as an event manager. Now she does training for me. She's highly qualified. But she decided, you know what, I don't feel that thing anymore. So what I'm saying is, what you study in school, go towards what is more technical. Ideally what you like, but more towards technical. Has I answered your question? Not yet. I just interrupted you. Sorry.
Oh, no. Actually, you have answered my question.
Uh-huh.
And one last question. You have been in the value capture area
Yes.
for quite a long time. And majorly when you go to events and meet young people, students, you might find something they want to say. You might hear something they say but get wrong. What's the one thing that you'd want to tell someone to work on a little bit better, at least to upscale himself in order to maximize his chances in networking?
Not chances in networking, chances in life. Networking is a path. It's not an end in itself. Is that clear? I'm answering my own question.
No, exactly.
Yeah? So networking is a path. It's not the end game. So if I hear your question, you're saying, what would I tell a young person to maximize their chances? I would use one word, competency. Become competent. And as you become competent, then move your competency towards high value competency. That's what I'd say. So ask yourself, all of you are here, you've got to ask yourself, what am I competent at? Because competency is what allows you to create value. And the guys who are less competent, they stick at support. They may be very clever. You may have a watchman whose English is impeccable. He can tell you what's happening in Ukraine. His knowledge is superb, but he doesn't have competency. And they develop competency. Yes, it's the skills, but again, it's everyday life. We sit in this room. We come for this room as ALF. We've got to say, when you come for a meeting, we make sure the desks are straight. We make sure everything is perfect. You've got to have that mindset, because then you're making competency who you are. You don't want to have to put on competence. Oh, the president is coming. Let's now rearrange ourselves. No. You want to be that guy. If president is coming to this room, you're like, we don't have to change anything. In this room, it goes sour. That's now you're taking your competency. So you want to make that a way of life. So I'd say competency. And then along with competency, I'd say integrity. Integrity is not lack of stealing in Kenya. There's so many thieves. We're all thieves. So we think integrity means stealing or the lack of it. No. Integrity is keeping your promises. Do what you say. Show up where you're supposed to. That's what integrity is. Keep your promises to yourself and to the world. So that's character. So you want to have competency and you want to have character. Character is about keeping your promises. Competence is about doing things to a high level. That's really what it is. Being able to do the things the way they're supposed to be done. Yeah? So those are the two things. I'd say if you do, and that's why your question earlier was, how do you move up? You asked, how do you move up? I'd say, Yanni, just look and say, how do I keep my promises? And how do I develop my competency? Just focus on that. Somebody gives you a bum-ass job, you're like, they are treating you like, excuse my French, they're treating you like shit, whatever. Go in there, if you have to be in there. You don't want to stay there for too long, but if you're in there, stay in there, do your stuff, be competent, keep your promises, and look to the fastest way to get out. But just show up like that every day in your life. Not easy, but just strive towards that. Strive towards that, and you'll get there. Good. Mashango, thank you guys. All the best. Yeah. I hope I left you with some hope. Maybe when I started, it was a bit depressing, but it is depressing, like I said, when you see a mother of two who's got, so it can be depressing. So I'm saying, let's say, I recognize the unfortunate facts. Let it be that guy from Colorado, he shows up and we're making the same kind of money. You look at him eyeball to eyeball. He says something, you say back. Yeah? That's what you want to be in life. Yeah? Yeah, that you're saying I'm at a level, I don't care where they're from. Yeah, good stuff. Mashango, over to you.
Give a round of applause.